All right, we're going to change the oil pan gasket on a BMW 530i. It's a 1994 E34. Here's the part number for the new oil pan gasket. I also bought a new drain plug. Here's the part number for the new drain plug. I bought a new gasket for the oil sender or something like that. I looked it up, so I was like, oh, I'll get this new gasket. There's the part number for that. And you don't have to, I guess, but I bought all new bolts, 24, 25 is what I bought. And here's the part number for those. They're all BMW parts. And you can see, let me put this down here. Open up the new gasket. The new gasket comes with just a little bead of silicone on here, and it is a BMW part. And I called and they said nope, that's all that it's supposed to be, and it's on both sides. The reason why we're doing this is because the reason why I'm changing out the oil pan gasket all around here is because it was wet. You can see it's wet over here, and it's probably just due for it. And I really wanted to get in here and take a look at the oil pump. You see all these videos of people saying they heard this ticking noise and they had low oil pressure until they revved the engine. They went in here and they saw all these bolts in the oil pan bottom here. So that's really what we're going in there to take a look at. Oh, and by the way, I guess this is probably where that gasket goes, that round one. So we're going to take all these off. There's 24 of them and everything else. I should also say there was a plastic shroud under here. I already took that off, and I've got the car jacked up and supported on some jack stands. So we're going to start taking off all the bolts, and then we'll come back and film it again. All right, so we used an air gun, 10 millimeter. These all come off pretty easy. I will say, when you go to disconnect, I guess this is the oil pressure sender right here. When you go to disconnect this little guy fell out. This little rubber gasket, which goes right up in here. It's just a weatherproofing thing on the inside. Some of these little retaining clips have to come off. There's this one that holds this on, and it just goes right there. And these guys here, this one which holds this line on, they can be kind of moved out of the way like that. And this one here, this clamp here, right here, is part of this little mamma jamma, and it looks like there's probably a 12 millimeter bolt right here to loosen this bracket so we can get this out of the way. So that's what we're going to do now, and I think that's a 12 millimeter, I'm guessing. So we're going to give that a shot now. We'll be back. All right, well, it just, indeed, when you take this bolt out here, this loosens up, the oil pan comes down, and you get some live action of 1, 2, 3 bolts sitting in the bottom of the oil pan. So I just need to find where they go. But I'm going to take the oil pan out, clean it all up, and then start hunting around for where the bolts go. And then we'll be putting everything back in and checking all the other ones and tightening them. But I'm glad that I did this. 3 bolts in the bottom of the pan. Here's a better view of it from up top. You can see we got 1, 2, 3 bolts. This one's larger. They were just hanging out in the bottom of the pan. Some of the videos that I've seen, they found like 5 bolts. And they were getting low oil pressure messages at a low RPM. Some of them were hearing some clicking and clacking. I wasn't experiencing any of that, but probably wouldn't have been too long before that manifested. So we're going to get this cleaned up. We're going to get the old gasket off. It's on here. And then go underneath and start looking for where these 3 bolts go and tighten everything up. And we'll videotape that too. Alright, we're under here. Looking up inside the engine. And you can see these bolts right here. There's a bunch of them. And then if you look right here, it's kind of hard to see, there's a missing one. That one's missing and that one's missing. And that one's still in. So these are the 2 small ones that came out. Those are 10 millimeter. Then there's a 13 millimeter right there. There's another 13 millimeter up there. And there's a missing 13 millimeter right there. So that's where the 13 millimeter is going to go back in. I'm going to re-torque all these ones. Put the 13 back up in there. Put these 2 back in. Here's your chain. I don't know what the tension's supposed to be on that, but I'm guessing it's probably okay. Somewhere here there's a chain tensioner, but I don't know where it is. I might clean up all this goo, but at least this wasn't shaken and loose. Some videos I've seen, this part of the pump here was all loose, and that's why it wasn't pumping at low RPM. So put these 2 back in. I'm going to clean things up in here and we'll be back. Alright, so now we took out the oil pressure sensor dealy bob unit here. It's just 3 bolts, 3 nuts that hold on right here. The old gasket is right here. Doesn't look too bad. The new one will be better. So we're going to put the new gasket in. We're going to get that cleaned up. Put the new gasket in. Drop this back down in. Put the cover back on. Tighten that down. Then we'll get the top, the inside of the oil pan all cleaned up and get ready to put it back on. Alright, there was a huge amount of gunk. Where's my screwdriver? There was a huge amount of gunk built up down in here. So I used this small screwdriver to kind of go around and get most of the looser stuff. And then I took the edge of this Brillo pad and went around in there and kind of cleaned out all the goo so we can get the new gasket in. I think we'll probably coat it up with oil and then drop it down in there. Okay, so we've got the oil pressure sensor unit back in. Little red wire routes around, kind of comes under here and down. These are tightened down to what did I do? 15 Newton meters, not a whole lot. We got the new gasket in. It's all cleaned up. This is cleaned down. So then we're gonna basically put the new gasket on. It does have this little bead of silicone on both sides. You do not need to put on any additional gasket sealant. So we're going to go into the car. We're going to go put this back in, tighten all the bolts down, and we'll be back. Alright, we're back down. Where's my flashlight? We're back down under here. Don't forget to put the little rubber thing that fell out of here. It goes on this side, not this, well, it just goes on this side. It's a little rubber gasket. We've got all new bolts going in all the way around. Don't forget, you got to put that one back in there because that holds this thing on here. And they're all brand new and they're all tightened down the same, I don't know, like 15 Newton meters, I don't know. You can look it up in the manual to see what torque settings they're supposed to be, but I think we're pretty much good to go here. So we're going to fill it with oil and turn it on.